This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
8:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarache and read by Niranjan Abesundara. The government has focused attention on solving problems faced by the gem and jewellery exporters. Sri Lanka seeks to enhance science and trade relations with South Africa. 2,131 persons have tested positive for the coronavirus today. 5.2 million doses of vaccine will arrive in the island by next month. Parliament will convene tomorrow and the day after. In world news, Swedish government hobbled in no-confidence vote. Sports news, up to 10,000 Japanese fans will be permitted at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic venues. The Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the government has paid attention on solving problems faced by the gem and jewellery exporters. The Prime Minister mentioned this while attending a discussion today at Temple Trees. The Prime Minister pointed out the gem and jewellery sector should make a considerable contribution to increase export revenue in the country. He said all facilities have been made available to the gem and jewellery exporters at present. He further said attention has been paid on removing tax on foreign currencies on income tax based on tourist transactions. High Commissioner of Sri Lanka to South Africa, Sirisena Amarasekara, recently met the high-ranking officials from the Department of Science and Innovation of South Africa and Department of Trade and Industry of South Africa. At the meeting, High Commissioner Amarasekara emphasized the officials that there are ways to expand existing relations between Sri Lanka and South Africa, especially in science and trade sectors in future, is regular interaction among relevant institutions of both countries. He further added that without science trade relations between the countries, there is no solid foundation for diplomatic relations in this fourth industrial revolution era. Officials attended appreciated the High Commissioner Amarasekara and Ms. Amarasekara for the invitation and the delicious Sri Lankan cuisine offered to them at the residence in this challenging time. Further, officials agreed to review the pending issues and expedite the matters at the earliest. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Get your EPF loan information and service details via SMS from HDFC Bank.
The Ministry of Health said that another 2,131 persons tested positive for the coronavirus today. This brings the total number of COVID-19 cases reported in the country so far to 41,420. Meanwhile, Ministry of Health also confirmed that 1,098 patients being treated for COVID-19 have been discharged after completing their recovery. This brings the total number of COVID-19 recoveries in the country to 207,287. Total of deaths due to COVID-19 since the pandemic began last March has now risen to 2,633. COVID vaccination is successfully being carried out in several districts. Over 3.3 million doses have been given to people at present. Then 2.5 million people have received the first dose. 5.2 million doses of vaccine will arrive in the island by next month. The government has allocated 98 billion rupees to purchase the vaccines. And that ends local news for now.
Now, get your EPF loan information and service details via SMS from HDFC Bank. Wherever you are, being a state and private sector employee, to obtain EPF loan information and service details, just send a SMS mentioning EPF space, name and region to 0718 800 999. HDFC Bank, the bank for your home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Committee on Parliamentary Business has decided to convene Parliament sessions tomorrow and the day after. Parliament is expected to take up two important debates this week, which includes the supplementary estimate of 200 billion rupees, which is aimed at controlling the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, and also the Coronavirus Disease Temporary Provisions Bill, which will provide legal redress to those who are affected by the pandemic. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight. State Minister Didum Amaragama said public transport services resume from today in a limited capacity for those attending to essential services on days travel restrictions are lifted. However, he requests people to refrain from travelling unless for essential purpose, as the country is not fully open despite easing travel restrictions. On to world news. Swedish government toppled in no-confidence vote. Iran's President-elect Raisi issues warning over nuclear talks. Nicaraguan police arrest fifth presidential hopeful. Sweden's parliament has passed a vote of no confidence in Prime Minister Stefan Löfven. A total of 181 of the 10-for-10 vote MPs voted in favour of the motion with 51 abstentions. It is the first time in Swedish history that a Prime Minister has been ousted in such a vote. Social Democrat leader has a week to resign or call a snap election. This decision came after a dispute over rent controls led the Left Party to withdraw its support for the coalition. Iran's president-elect has welcomed the negotiations with the world powers aimed at reviving a 2015 nuclear deal, but said they must guarantee national interest. At his first news conference since the victory in Friday's election, Ibrahim Raisi promised he would not allow the talks in Vienna to be dragged out. He also insisted that Iran's ballistic missile program was not negotiable. Nuclear deal has been close to collapse since the US abandoned its and reinstated sanctions 3 years ago. Police in Nicaragua have detained another potential candidate for the presidency in the latest crackdown on opposition figures. Journalist Miguel Mora was detained on Nicaragua's controversial treason law. He is the fifth presidential hopeful to be arrested in the past 3 weeks. The wave of detentions comes 5 months before elections in which President Daniel Ortega is expected to run for a fourth consecutive term. And back to the headlines of the world news. Swedish government toppled in no-confidence vote. Iran's president-elect Reza issues warning over nuclear talks. Nicaraguan police arrest fifth presidential hopeful. Development news. The construction of the second multi-story car park, the joint project of the state and private sector, commenced in Colombo, Lebanon yesterday under the patronage of the State Minister Dr. Naraka Gudheva. Urban Development Authority is implementing the project in Colombo with a capacity of over 1,500 vehicles each. The authority has planned to construct 11 more car parks in the Colombo city. That is development news. On to sports news. Tokyo 2020 organizing committees say that up to 10,000 Japanese fans will be permitted to Tokyo 2020 Olympic venues, despite warnings from health bosses. Overseas spectators are already banned, but organizers said domestic fans could attend the session provided the crowds did not exceed 50% of the venue's capacity. Fans will not be allowed to shout or speak loudly and must wear face masks at all times while in the venues. Olympics are scheduled to begin on the 23rd of July, while the Paralympics follow a month later from 24th of August. That is sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira said the members of the committee which was appointed to investigate the price of LP gas today decided not to increase domestic gas prices. Decision was taken following a meeting with the heads of the two gas companies at the ministry. That came to in Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The government says textiles and garment exports have increased during the first 4 months of this year. According to Central Bank report, exports of textiles and garments have increased by 28.7% during this period. Sri Lanka has earned $1.7 billion through the exports. That was economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Met Department says a slight change in the prevailing weather conditions is expected to be in the next few days. Several spells of showers will occur in the western, central and Sabaragawa provinces and the God and Matara districts. Shower thunder showers may occur in a few places in the eastern Uva province and the Vauni and Polana districts in the night. That was the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Back to the headlines of the news. The government is focused attention on solving problems faced by the gem and jewellery exporters. Sri Lanka seeks to enhance science and trade relations with South Africa. 2,131 persons have tested positive for the coronavirus today. 5.2 million doses of vaccine will arrive in the island by next month. Parliament will convene tomorrow and the day after. In world news, Swedish government toppled in no confidence vote. Sports news. Up 10,000 Japanese fans will be permitted to Tokyo 2020 Olympic venues. That in the news.